What's going on, everyone? I am Josh with 625 Media, and thank you for joining me for this Thursday vlog post here on From the Attic. So I've taken some time this week to think about the individual points that we focused on over the last few weeks, because the broad subject has been voiceover. Really, it's been what has dominated our vlogs and our blog posts. But a lot of the talk in there has been about boundaries or barriers, and they're really more mental or individual barriers, the things that human beings for all of time have tried to overcome to achieve their goals, right? Am I good enough? Did I prepare enough mentally? Do I know enough about a subject? Those kind of things is what we've really been talking about. But in those conversations, we have failed to really talk about the technical side of things. I'm talking about doing voiceovers and videos and graphics and things like that, where I can't just wave a wand and materialize all of this stuff. Just like a mechanic or a carpenter, we need tools to be able to do the job that we want to do. Now, comparisons continue because mechanics and carpenters, their tools are kind of expensive. So are those of us who do digital content or content creation. The tools that we use can be very expensive as well, especially if you're someone who's buying a piece of equipment or a piece of software because it has a certain name on it. So it got me thinking, there are probably some of you who are watching or reading here on From the Attic who are like me, who want to get into some kind of creative space online. That's really what it is. I like digital content. I like creating it. But also, like me, you don't have the extra money to just throw around. Now, I don't consider this a lot because I've collected some of these tools over time, and I don't necessarily always go for the newest and brightest. Okay, the tools that I use, I've probably had for, I don't know, 5 to 10 years, depending on what the tool is. But they still serve an excellent purpose and still work well for what I'm doing. But if you don't have a collection like that, you're starting from scratch. So you need to know what to do, what to get. And I'm not going to tell you what. But I am going to show you an option today that I a lot of times forget about because I've only used it once or twice before this week, and I like Audition. I love Adobe Audition. It's my favorite. It's what I'm comfortable with. A lot of people like Pro Tools, and you could make arguments for either one or any of the other ones that are out there. But this option I'm going to show you today, and I'm not going to go too far in depth. I just want to show you how easy it is to really get started with this software. It's free. It's absolutely free. And on a very general level, does the same things that all of those nice, neat, shiny names do. Of course, I'm talking about Audacity. Okay, it celebrated its 20th anniversary of existence this year. And it gets praise from thousands of people. I mean, there are a lot of people that use it. I used it for a college class where the instructor was like, hey, use this software. I mean, people have used it for years now and really like it. And I can see why. No, I'm not going to throw away Audition. But if I needed an option outside of Adobe Audition, I would probably turn to Audacity. So instead of sitting here and telling you about all the features and walking through each different tool, I thought it might be a good idea just to open it up and record something and show you the interface in action. Okay? Sound good? Let's do it. All right, so this is the Audacity interface. It should look very familiar to those of you who have worked in any kind of audio interface like this. If you have not, it shouldn't be that intimidating. Now, there are some things here that you might be looking at going, oh, what's that? But for the most part, a lot of these icons and symbols should be fairly familiar. If we come up here, we've got our playback controls. We should all know what these symbols mean. We got pause, play, stop, back, forward, record. We do have some tools, which we'll get into a little bit. We have our recording input level. So this will show you how loud the signal is coming in. This is our playback monitor, or our playback level monitor. It'll show us how loud it is coming out, right? We have a recording volume. This is how loud we want to record at, and the playback volume. So this is really just volume controls in general for the system, not for your tracks or for your waveforms. One thing I did like about this interface is that we can set up all of our recording and playback devices right here in the interface. So instead of going to a preference menu hidden in your file menus here, it's right here in the interface. So I can customize this all that I want without going into a different menu. Now, this is a multi-track program, so I can set up multiple tracks. I go to the tracks menu, I hit add new, and then I can select the type of track. I typically do it in stereo, so I'm going to go stereo. You may need to record in mono, so you got a one channel track. The downside of this is that you can't, if you have multiple recording in devices. So like I've got a few listed here. If I wanted to record with all of those, I would need to record one track at a time, because I can't just go to this track and assign a device. So I couldn't go and assign my webcam to track 1 and then my microphone to track 2. So as far as a multi-track recorder goes, it will record multiple tracks, but it won't do it simultaneously unless you're using the same device on all tracks. So that's the one downside to it that I didn't really enjoy. But if we're just like podcasting or recording one voice, that's really not a necessity, is it? I'm going to go ahead and remove this track, and it's easy to remove. I just click on the track, and I go to the tracks menu, remove track, and I'm ready to record. So there's really no arming to do. As long as I have the track selected, I'm ready to record there, and it's as simple as hitting the record button. And now I'm recording an audio track in Audacity. I can hit the space bar to stop it, or I can hit the stop button, and there we go. I got my waveform. So I'm just going to go back to this simple tool here real quick and show you how quickly we can get into actually processing this. Now, I'm gonna warn you, I'm not the most technically knowledgeable person when it comes to effects and how to really adjust some of these effects, because one, I'm not necessarily familiar with the effects in this application, and two, I'm more of a listener. I'm not going to look at a waveform and go, well, I need to grab this effect and adjust it by 2.67 dB. And I like to play. I like to tweak and dial it into where I get a sound that I'm looking for. But there are typically 3 effects that I'm looking for, and that is an EQ, a compressor, and a limiter. Okay. So to apply an effect, I have to select the waveform. So I can't just have it out here and go to effect, select EQ, and because it's going to say you don't have anything selected. So another downside of this, I don't have an effects rack that I can set up and apply it to a track. I have to apply it to the waveform itself. So I'm going to select my waveform. I'm going to go to the effects menu, and you can see that there are a lot of effects plugins here. And this is what comes with the software. I didn't add anything. This is what comes with it. So you should have plenty of effects to use. I'm going to go with EQ first because I like to do that. And it's a basic equalizer. You can look at it 2 different ways. You can manipulate the points themselves, or you can use the graphic equalizer. I prefer the graphic equalizer because I like sliders and knobs. But this is set up and has defaulted to the last settings that I used. So if you are someone who records maybe like one voice all the time, so if it's just me recording, I can set this once and kind of leave it, but I also have the option to go to this manage menu and save a preset if I wanted. I can preview it right from here. So I hit the preview button, and now I'm recording an audio track in Audacity. And I can listen to it back, that I can make my tweaks. Now, the one thing I don't like is that I can't do it in real time. In Audition, I can listen and tweak in real time. This one, I got to play it back. So I might lose a little bit of productivity that way. But I'm going to get pretty close to the same results with both. So to apply it, I hit OK. And we visually noticed that there was a change in that waveform. So now, next, I want to add my compression. Go to my compressor. So I use compression to I guess, manage waveform amplitudes that are high, but also to expand amplitudes that are low to help normalize it. Now, there is a normalize effect that I could use, but I don't normally use that a lot. I typically use compression and limiter to achieve that for me. So I've got it set to where I last used it. There's one option that I did like to a point. I wish it was adjustable, but I can select this option that says make up gain for 0 dB after compressing. So if I compress this waveform really, really small, it's going to decrease the volume because the waveform amplitude will be decreased. But what I can do is select this option, and it's going to then expand everything to a certain point. So if I apply this to this waveform, you're going to see the compression and expansion happening right there. So depending on those settings, it may just compress or it may just expand. Okay, those settings were pretty weak. I didn't have really a limit there. I set it to -3, which is actually pretty loud. You don't want it. A lot of times you don't want your audio any louder than that unless it's the final product. So now that I've used the compression, you can see I've got a little peak here, so I definitely need a limiter. So I'm going to grab my limiter. And it's, again, set to the last settings that I used. So that's one bonus. I'm not always selecting presets. But it's a pretty basic limiter. I've got each channel I have input gain. So this is telling me how loud do I want this waveform to be coming in. All right, if I set this to 0, it's just going to be whatever the waveform is. But if I choose to increase the level or the amplitude by 4 dB in each channel, it's going to be louder than it is coming in. Okay, that'll help fill out some of the quieter areas. Then, really, the purpose of the limiter, it says limit to. So what I'm telling it to do is play it a little bit louder, but then take all of the peaks of my waveform and limit them to -3 dB. Now, I also have the option to apply makeup gain here. I'm going to select no because I've already done that with the input. I don't want the output to be made up. I want the input to be made up so that way it expands it, but I don't get like this horrific clipping, because that's what will happen. So let's preview this. And now I'm recording an audio track in Audacity. So we can see visually here that most of it goes right to 3, and it doesn't go any further than -3. So if I apply that, you'll see that visually in the waveform. And you notice that some of those quieter areas did get louder. They didn't get fully to -3, but it did end up normalizing everything to a point where it's pretty even. So we would listen to this back, and now I'm recording an audio track in Audacity. And I would say it's decent. We still have some cleanup to work to do. We've got to clear out some of the noise in the background. Maybe do a noise filter, because we have that. We've got noise reduction. We've got some other effects that we might be able to try out here. But overall, I mean, it does everything that I need it to do to produce a quality product for a client. And I've very, very easily gotten into that and done that piece of audio in 10 to 15 minutes. So there you have it. That's Audacity, and that's how easy it really is to get into it. Now, I have the advantage of knowing my way around it a little bit, and knowing what I want to use when I go to process my audio. Again, I do have to go in and play with it a little bit to make sure that my effects are where that I want them, and I'm getting the sound that I want and the sounds that I don't want. But with as easy it is to record in that interface, I'm not going to be spending a lot of time recording, and I'm going to have a little bit more time to play with the effects. Now, once I have those effects, I'm going to set those presets and think about how easy it's going to be to record in that interface. Now you can export that audio in your typical file types. You've got MP3, you've got waveforms, you've got a few others. There's some in there that, do we even use them anymore? Like Windows Media Audio. Do we still use that? I didn't know we still use that. But you can save it just like you would. You can set your sample rates and all of that exporting. So a lot of the same functionality, just on a more general level. Now, is this something you're going to want to use forever? I don't think so. I think it's definitely something that if you're just starting out, it's get your feet wet here and maybe get yourself some clientele, get yourself some business with this, make you a little bit of money, and then invest some of that money into some better software. Not saying that this is bad software because, again, I'm not going to throw Audition out, but if I had to, I might jump to this solution because it does what it needs to do. So if you're on a budget, you want to get into audio or podcasting or voiceover, definitely check out Audacity. You can download it, and I encourage you to do it. It's a small executable file. It comes with a manual. You can visit audacityteam.org. Okay, download the file. They've got all kinds of information about the project. It is open and free to the public. It's licensed under the general public license, so it's free to use, free to share. So if you got friends, download it, share it with them. Why not? You guys have an Audacity party. No, probably not. But I guess it's possible. All right, so I hope you enjoyed that. If you're on the blog, there's a little bit written up down below, so feel free to read that, and I should have a link to the Audacity site there as well. So you don't have to remember audacityteam.org because I can't remember it either. Oh. So that's it for this Thursday. Please make sure that you are following us on all of this social media. And it is so weird because you're so used to mirrors. But here's all of our social media: Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest, YouTube, Instagram, 625 Media. Make sure that you are going there, you are following that, and you just leave your phone open to it and sit like this all day. Post. When are they going to post? Post something already. We will when we have new content. Speaking of new content, I'll see you on Saturday. I'll see you later. Wait, did I say Saturday? I meant Sunday. Caught it. All right. For real. I'll see you later.